different.
Welcome back to the movie podcast. I'm your host, Dylan.
You're not gonna add some more?
Sorry, we just had a funeral that we
it?
just came through. I'm so sorry.
Funeral.
Yeah, I just came through it. It was right out there.
Yeah, we had to fight our way through all of them.
Yeah.
All the procession.
Trying to do a thing with the mic. I'm trying not to boom my way through this whole podcast, so I'm starting really casually. I know it seems low energy, but stick with me. We're back. It's been a couple weeks, but you'll never know because our dates are so wacky with the release.
Yeah.
But we were actually on a small hiatus, but we are back from that small hiatus, and we have busted our butts to make sure you've never noticed.
Yep.
Anyway,
So hard.
today on the show, we got all the same hosts. You know him, you love him. We got Nathan, Mason, and Price, freshly back from Hong Kong. He has caused a lot of protests and trouble over there.
You didn't go to Moscow?
Yeah.
What?
You went to Moscow, right?
What are you talking about? Both of your places are wrong.
He went somewhere.
So today, we're talking about Snatch, but speaking of Moscow, Russians play a part in this movie.
That's
No, it wasn't he from
Well,
some
Russian,
other
Serbian, kind of like...
Yeah, it was-
Yeah. We'll get into it.
It was also a surprise for the audience because we picked Snatch on the downtime. We didn't pick on our last show, remember? Yeah.
You weren't there, but you're right. So...
How did you know that?
Whoa.
Who phoned him in on
Oh, you all
that?
did
Yeah.
the show while I was gone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah, no, we did.
Oh, boy.
Did we?
You didn't even make you catch up.
If you haven't seen
I don't know
our
what they're
episode
talking
with
about.
special guest Jill and Annabeth talking about the
Third Star.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Don't.
Bryce, you need to watch that.
It's a
so
good
you can,
episode.
I guess
throw in your
to catch
rating.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Press was gone for that. But yeah, during that time, we didn't pick a movie for the following week. And in that meantime, we picked Snatch. The oddly filmed.
He picked Snatch.
I did. It was my week, and I got to pick it. So anyway, we're here to talk about Snatch. Welcome to the Snatch Podcast Review and the F Movie Podcast. And then here's an intro where you're gonna edit this in. It's just us like,
Yeah, all
we got it. Coming
That was
soon.
an intro to the intro.
Woo! And we're back. So,
Man,
Nathan,
what an intro.
why don't you tell us a little bit about Snatch to make sure that you watched it twice.
So Nathan's
Okay,
always
let's
going to be our
see.
summary guy?
Every time.
Is that the case?
That's his job.
Yeah.
After Warrior, I have
Okay.
officially given it that.
So there's something about Brad Pitt having a really weird accent.
Ah, pikey.
You're
Yeah.
starting at
Whatever
an odd point in the movie. is
Yeah,
all
no,
I'm saying.
really weird specific.
Okay, so this is a movie that is like the intertwining of a bunch of different characters that are just kind of like running into each other at various points. There's kind of, it's really like there's two stories going on. Because there's the whole Jewel Heist story. Meanwhile, there is the like rigging of a
Unboxing.
boxing fight story.
Yeah.
And they do kind of interweave here and there, but for the most part, they are kind of their own little stories going on.
Yeah.
But when they connect, it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this
The
movie-
actual scene where it connects is
Yeah,
amazing.
It's so good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
So yeah, we've got. Gosh, do we even have a? I mean, Turkish is kind of a main character.
He's roughly the main character, so we kind of start.
Yeah.
I'd say he's
Oh,
that
Jason
star.
Statham.
Jason-
He is. the
Yeah,
main character.
Jason Statham, I would say the whole movie's like perspective is supposed to be kind of revolving around him, even if
That's
it hits
true.
everybody else's
100%.
points. But he's like kind of like the linchpin for all the stories, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason Statham's character Turkish is a boxing organizer. He's kind of like a smaller town guy, but he gets into this fight, or he has a boxer, and he's talking with one of the deep underground guys about rigging a fight, and that's a big thing coming up.
And apparently, that's in the story. He doesn't rig fights,
Right.
Whereas the other guy does rig fights all the time, and everybody
Tommy?
knows that.
Yeah, Bricktop.
It was the other guy.
Yeah,
The guy
Bricktop's the
who-
main.
The break of the villain.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
main antagonist of the
Yeah,
film. Yeah.
So he agrees to actually rig a fight for the first time. For some reason, he decides he also needs to get himself a new caravan, a new RV, basically. Because another thing about this movie is it is all set in England.
Yeah.
And it's all supposed to be British characters for the most part. Yes, maybe some other British Isles people, but
Yeah.
Brad Pitt just happened to be visiting or something, and then
Yeah.
they said, "Oh my God, that's Brad Pitt." We
Yeah.
gotta get him in here."
like he's got to be in there. Like, oh, he wants to do that accent. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
We'll just
It's
put him in the
Brad Pitt.
backwoods area.
Side note, that scene where they decide to get the new caravan, I love that part where he's like, how long till those sausages are done? He's like, 2 minutes.
You
And
said
he's like,
that
okay. And then he
Yeah.
asks him again. He's like, 5 more minutes. Like, you said that 2 minutes ago.
Oh, he said that 5 minutes.
5 minutes ago, right? Oh, why did he want a new caravan? Oh gosh, gosh. All right, so this is going to go off the synopsis a little bit. So
It is.
we'll go long story short with the synopsis because there's kind of
But
a
it's
lot of
part of
stories
where
going on.
it's part of where his plan derails.
Right, yeah. So it all very much like a domino effect. This is one of those movies where everything goes wrong for pretty much until the end.
Yeah.
And everybody else's stories all go wrong all the way till the end.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of eccentric characters. So, for the record, this movie is directed by Guy Ritchie. That's important for tone, because if you're wanting to figure out what the hell this movie is besides a bunch of jumbled storylines,
I don't know.
Guy Ritchie, the guy who did Baby Driver,
No way.
same director. Yep. So,
Huh.
if you're looking for something like not very serious, the action's like okay, but it's very much like an action comedy that
Yeah.
does very well for itself. It's like Quentin Tarantino light is the best way to
It-
describe Guy
yeah.
Ritchie.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I agree
does
with that.
very much feel like a Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah, storytelling
It
is
does.
not lined up right. There's a bunch of stories intercrossing with each other. Guy Ritchie, I think Quentin Tarantino are pretty close to, except Guy Ritchie's like a little bit maybe less talented, and he does a little bit more of his humor in a different style. But so if you're looking for something in like an action comedy kind of category where the comedy's really good whenever it's on, and just chaos ensues and there's not really a good guy or kind of going on, this will be a fun movie for you to check out. And I'm doing the synopsis because I want to talk about the camper part, because Jason Statham, like this is I think his second movie that he's ever done.
Really?
Yeah, it's his first or second movie.
You
I
can
forget
definitely
which.
tell.
Yeah, and you can tell because he's not the big star in the film at this point, because he's
Yeah.
not leading a Fast and Furious franchise now.
Still wearing a suit like he always does.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, it's an early suit.
So Tommy, who is like his sidekick in this whole thing, he's like, Tommy, I want to do Caravan. And Tommy's like, why? What's the matter with it? And this Caravan looks like just like a piece of shit, right? He opens the door and it just pops the whole door off, and he's like, I don't know, Tommy. Must be the color. Just all of the I think that's my favorite part of the whole movie. Like all of the jokes really land with all the tough guys on
Oh,
it.
they're all good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay, there's way too much to talk about in this movie.
Right,
So,
so-
there is
so with the
an insane
synopsis, I think the best way we could do is get like these characters do this, these characters do that, and then like that's about it, because
Right.
it'll take way too long.
It's so interconnected to sit there and try to give it a brief summary. Is that there's kind of to his point. There's a diamond heist and a boxing fight that brings a bunch of charismatic like characters together in certain wacky ways.
Yeah.
But there's a couple the main villain, I guess, Bricktop is kind of
Bricktop.
there for everybody. He's kind of the main baddie for
and everybody hates him.
Yeah, everybody hates him, and he pretty much hates everybody. That's the very shortest and easiest way to explain this with this many storylines and characters in it.
Yeah.
So let's just dig right into the pros cons. What does everybody think about the movie?
Who's go first?
I enjoyed it. I thought I was trying my hardest to like keep up with everything until I finally realized that it was not that much going on. It was just something I could just sit back and actually have fun with and like listen to the jokes, let them sink in really quick, the quips and everything. I enjoyed it. I thought it was much more of a comedy than it was a heist movie or an action movie or anything, which was great. I don't know. I'm with you. The jokes just landed because Jason Statham wasn't even my favorite character.
No.
There's a couple black dudes that was
was my
probably
least
my
favorite.
favorite.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like
I can't remember their names.
Tyrone.
with
Tyrone.
the dog?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
100%.
it was just like such a downhill, and then like their driver. I love
Tyrone.
I love the scene where like he helps them out of having just tried to rob this place and failed horribly, and then they're getting in the car, and he sees the guy that they were actually after, knocks him out, tries to stuff him in the car, and they're like, "What are you doing with this man?" It's like, that's the guy with four
He's
fingers.
got 4 fingers.
Yeah.
Did you not look at his hand?
Earlier in the movie, his observation skills are totally questioned, though, because he backs up and just runs into the van, which has...
And traps him.
Yeah.
which
For
is-
like hours.
Yeah, so having watched it twice, like
Yeah.
within like about a week and a half,
Yeah.
that stuff makes it so much
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Because if you didn't notice that
You
this stuff was
caught on
happening
to
the
it.
first time, it's so much funnier the
Yeah.
second time around, where it's just like they're waiting there. It's like, where's this guy at? Like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
somebody just went and let's go. It's like and they've just had him pinned the whole time.
They
Right.
was literally basically in his trunk the
Yeah.
whole time, but just right behind it. Yeah.
He was knocked out in the van.
He
Yeah.
wasn't knocked out? Okay, I thought he was just
He was
trapped.
getting ready and he passed out as
Yeah.
they hit him. in the
Okay.
Which
van.
the van, okay, is there anything that I missed about the van? Because the van had a bunch of outfits in it.
Yeah, it was like he was
What
living
was
out
with
of it.
that
right.
van?
I don't know.
I
Why
think
was
he may have
but
been
he
living
was
out of it.
visiting. He was visiting England. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a sidetrack.
Yeah.
Kind of those weird side notes, but yeah, the humor is definitely my favorite part of this whole film, hands down. I think that it's funny that it's not like always intentional jokes. I mean, sometimes there are like very much are. It's just the situations that these like buff dudes get into. But some of the dialogue is just so like you're laughing because they're like, this character is just so fucked. Like that's just that feeling you get for
they're toast. Yeah.
Like probably my favorite scenes in this one all involve I forget his name, Bullet Tooth something like yeah. So
Oh gosh,
I forget. I forget what the main name is, but Bullet Tooth,
the Terminator tough guy.
Yeah. So just the scene where they introduce him and they call him, they're like, "Oh yeah, call Bullet Tooth or whatever," and he's just hammering this dude's head into a car door.
Yeah.
And picks up the phone that's in his car. Bonjour. Like everything that guy did was gold. So a bunch of guys go in there to go rob him because at one point in the diamond storyline mode, like he has the diamond with him.
Yeah.
And then the three black guys go in there to go try to go snag it back from him, but they have like replica guns.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting here and he grabs the gun at one point and he's just like, "Well, you're trying to get me with a gun that says replica on the side." And just the little tiny shots, the way this film is shot to emphasize the jokes, and it just hits every letter. And he's just like, "Meanwhile, my gun has Barrett 50 or whatever.
Desert Eagle.
Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
.50. Oh gosh.
Well,
yeah.
I also really like the scene where he's questioning that random guy that's like on the side of the street with the really thick accent.
Puts
He's
his
like,
head in the
come
window.
over here," and then just like grabs him by his tie and then like pulls the window up to where it holds him in place and then just starts to drive with him on the side of the car until he decides to talk.
And you forgot about the line, that same interaction where he's like, "You must be the dick of the operation, and these are your two balls."
It goes on for so long, but it's a description. So that's the thing about these two balls. You're starting to quit. You're starting to lose ground. You're receding into yourselves, and your balls are going with you. Like just that whole monologue for itself. The scene. Oh gosh, I love the dialogue in this film. Like all of it is just so entertaining throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say though, like this is maybe like my third or fourth time watching it after watching it again recently, but I do remember thinking that, like, I was thinking, oh, this is like an hour and a half film or something like that. Put it up on Netflix, hour 48, and I'm like, ooh, that runs a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's not one of those films that drags too much, I think that, like, I'm getting ahead of myself in my segment, but this is one of those ones where I'm like, oh, this is a little bit longer than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And after like the rewatches and stuff,
totally
on the first like couple rewatches, I didn't think that, but then on my this is granted the fourth one, and this isn't like fourth one like 5 years apart. Like I'd maybe watched this movie last year or something like that. So rewatching it again recently, and again, it's not like there's not the longer moments didn't make it feel like it was a long film. It's definitely not too long. I think it's appropriate still where it's at. But there were a couple of dragging moments where, like, once you know the jokes or something like that, like, there are some scenes that are still enjoyable, but then there are some parts where the pikey stuff is either really funny or really, like, kind of just a drag. The pikeys with Brad Pitt's character and all of that part. Yeah, some of those moments were very hit or miss.
But at the same time, like, almost had to have almost all of those because at the very end, spoilers, Brad Pitt ends up getting hitmen to kill...
all the pikey buddies all just...
He doesn't hire a hitman.
Yeah, they're all just
pikeys.
They're all They all just coordinate and like completely flip the script on the bad guy,
which is textbook heist movie. You know, something happens at the very end that you know, this hand's busy while this hand's doing something else.
Well, I like how the reveal with that too is like the character Turkish being like, you know, and there we were like a deer caught in headlights.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but the pikey wasn't nervous at all.
Yeah.
Because he had already been planning on running that car over.
Yep.
And then the whole scene.
And then it like cuts back to everything that was happening just before the moment that the lights on the car turn on and they think that they're about to be killed.
Yeah.
It's very good storytelling in this movie, I think. Like for it to be 2000s, Guy Ritchie, I liked Baby Driver a million times over.
Yeah,
I
really like Baby Driver.
Really good.
But yeah, great storytelling. Kind of gave me did he do Fight Club? Surely not.
No, he didn't do Fight Club.
Okay, because I kind of got those vibes from some of like the angles.
I think it doesn't help that Brad Pitt plays a hard fighter character in here as well. The linchpin of the main linchpin of the story character is Brad Pitt. Besides Turkish, I think is like Brad Pitt's character that kind of brings
maybe
the boxing story part together.
Well, he's driving a lot of that. He has nothing at all to do with the diamond heist.
No, nothing.
No, you didn't care anything about that.
That's the thing I think so interesting is like you are telling two stories that just touch on each other here and there, but they're just like weaving, and there's characters that have nothing at all to do with one story.
And some that deal with both of them, and some with just like one and not the other. I like that. I mean, I had two favorite scenes in the movie. One was definitely when all the people come together, like literally
Whenever they were
come
like
together.
hitting the cars
Yeah.
and stuff.
And they hit the cars.
And like Forrest gets out of the car and just like, oh.
Yeah. Then they go into the restaurant. And he's like, tie your shoe, and he's shooting the Desert Eagle through the wall and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I wonder if you all can guess the other one. It's extremely similar to one of my 10 movies. There's one scene that like I thought would
I feel like
maybe
it's
give it
between
away.
Tyrone and his partner at someone. Okay, I thought it might have been with the dog when like he swallows a chew toy or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Should I give you all longer or just go ahead?
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
It wasn't the
Anyway,
scene
good.
where like he where Bricktop is like ushering the boys out the front door to like a scene of this
No.
room being built in front of their building and they're about to start chopping
Oh,
Tyrone
yeah.
up.
No, it's when it's exactly like if y'all remember in the Tim and Eric movie when Taquito is dying and Will Ferrell comes up to him.
yeah.
Like, "Pow, Taquito!"
Yeah.
It's like, is he dead?
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
Hurry
dead
up
now.
and die.
The bullet dodger not dying, just
Yeah,
taking
the
the
bolt does shut down. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
"Fuck you!"
Forrest.
Pow.
force the play. I do love that part of
Yeah.
that part.
That was
Like,
good.
to no surprise, my
Forrest
favorite
was
part of that
pretty
film.
fantastic.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that part that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of
Quit
the
taking the piss, boys. He's already shot him like 6 times at that point.
Oh yeah, I really like this movie. It started off on a poor note for me too because that editing at the beginning was so 90s that it hurt.
Oh,
my
it
brain.
was.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
That's
I
that's
hated
definitely
it.
the most aged part of the movie. Like
Yeah,
very early
So
on.
I mean, it really it
Yeah.
begins with that classic thing of like this character and this character.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded
So,
me of
like,
like Slevin or
yeah.
something weird.
Right, it
like,
does that character
or
profile
Wanted,
thing.
or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
I knew I was in for a very high strung, like high impact movie that was just never
Right.
gonna quit. But it wasn't. Luckily, like I said, it was more of a comedy
I
than
would
it was anything
yeah.
else.
I would say this is the best of that genre, so to speak, where it's those
Yeah,
action comedies that didn't take themselves too seriously. I think in that time period there was a lot of like that, like a bunch of like Smoking Aces and stuff like that at that time period. I remember thinking that they were
Yeah.
still like these action ensemble films that were all kind of cookie cutter.
Mhm.
And this one came out in that time period, which I think is why it kind of went under the radar for a long
Yeah.
time. But then, like, until you finally watch it, and then you're like, oh no, this one actually lands really well. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of them tried to make it all action, no substance. And this one landed some action, a lot of comedy substance, and that was like the perfect balance for it, especially for the director in that one.
Yeah.
and it was weird because like the editing at the beginning I hated with the weird 90s stuff, but when Brad Pitt was fighting that guy at the end of the movie, I like was enjoying all of like how they were cutting that together,
Oh,
like
yeah.
how they were showing like Brad Pitt's fatigue and stuff like that. Like I did enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, like, kind of playing off of what we were talking about just a second ago, one of the cons of this movie, if there are any, I try to think of, like, how I'm going to present this movie to someone else and try to get them to watch it.
Yeah.
Because this is an old movie, okay? This is a British movie.
Yeah.
So it's very much like, to me, it's already kind of, like, on the worse end. Like, you know, it's going to be hard.
To refer to somebody.
Exactly.
Right,
It's
right.
going to be hard to sit there and
Not
get
to
someone
say,
to watch
it's
it.
not American, so fuck this movie.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, sorry, she picked third star, so
Yeah.
we know where that stands.
Yeah.
Right.
But to me, like, you almost have to approach it like it's a comedy. It's hilarious. Don't even touch on the fact that it's a heist movie. Don't even touch on the fact that it's an action movie. It's a good comedy. It's got Brad Pitt in it.
Yeah.
Like and Jason Statham, if you want to throw his
Yeah.
name in there.
Jason
Yeah.
Statham at this point, I think, is a pretty safe bet. You're like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
action comedy
for
with Jason
sure.
Statham or Brad Pitt.
There's a lot
then
of
you thought-
recognizable people in
Right.
this too. I don't know if you'll notice, but the guy that was going into the bookies that they like wrongly identified
Oh,
as the person they were after.
What's his?
I can't remember it. Yeah, but I know who you're talking about.
I was about
Yeah,
to
he's
say-
like a really well-known guy.
Benicio
too.
del
He's-
Toro, right? No.
I have to
No,
look
you're
it up.
right. Yeah, the guy who actually steals the jewel.
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
Benicio?
it's something like Del Toro.
No. No, I'm not saying the
So
guy
what-
that stole the jewel. I'm
Yeah.
saying
Oh.
the innocent bystander that was walking
That they
in there
thought was
that they
Freddy
checked his
Fourfingers.
yeah, and they were like looking at his hands like
Oh, I have no idea.
it's
who
a
that
guy.
was.
It's a guy from SNL.
Oh, it's an SNL element. Oh, that one I wouldn't know.
I have no idea.
But Benicio del Toro was Freddy Fourfingers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Which again, surprise. I mean, another random big name in there. Benicio's not something to sleep on.
What's he big from? I know he's like a big actor, but I don't know like why.
What's his standout roles?
See, exactly. He's a big actor, but I don't know
He's
why.
been in something, then that's what's
I
bothering
mean, he was in like Guardians and stuff. He's a collector.
Yeah, like he's a but he was big before he got into before he was a Marvel actor.
Well, yeah, I imagine.
I don't want to do the IMDb.
Can
Yeah, I don't
we
either.
think
I
of
don't
any
care
other
enough.
cons for this movie? Any cons?
I really don't have a lot on this
Really?
one, honestly. This is, this kind of, I'll transition into the fat and thin
Oh, yeah.
conversation soon with it because I think it plays a good part on why I don't think there's a lot of
Sure.
cons in it. For an older movie, it definitely doesn't show it other than the editing early on. Like,
Yeah.
I would say
Agreed.
this is a movie that, other than the fact that you're looking at Jason Statham and he's not clearly the star with all the runtime on him, like,
Which I'm happy
The
with.
Transporter.
Yeah.
Which is, that's
Exactly.
another thing I thought of whenever I first started watching it. It was going to be like a Bourne movie or like a Transporter or
this-
something like that.
I mean, this movie had a lot of things to work against it, which is why I think it's so hard to find the cons, because it's all the things, all your expectations going in when you see Jason Statham, kind of an action comedy thing, kind of all the tone, like, and then you start digging into it and you're like, oh, thank God
It's
they
a
didn't
bait
give
and
him more
switch.
time. Right.
Yeah.
It really
It's a
is.
bait and switch with the cast
Mhm.
versus what they actually give you.
Oh, yeah.
Nathan, you have any cons, buddy?
No.
All right, Dylan.
I enjoyed
Alright.
this movie thoroughly.
Yeah.
I did too.
Well, transitioning in, guys, let's look at what did we think on the film. Let's look into the segment fat, thin, or perfectly fit. In this segment, we sit here and talk about, all right, so some films can kind of overstay their welcome. Sometimes they're a little bit too long, and if we were editing it, going back, we'd say, all right, this film definitely has a bunch of extra stuff we'd cut out. Maybe that movie's fat. Maybe if we wanted more from the movie and it was pretty shallow on its time, maybe it's a little thin. Some movies are just right. They sit there, they have perfect amount of content. They sit there, they don't overstay their welcome. There's not a lot of bloated extra scenes. Really just fits that. That's a nice fit movie. Mason, lead us off. What do you think on this
I
one?
thought this movie was a little bit fat.
Whoa.
I know, and honestly, I can't really tell you what I think I would cut because, like I said earlier,
Good
the
argument.
fight scenes,
Good argument.
the fight
there.
scenes you needed to sort of develop Brad Pitt and his homies
Right.
because of the end of the movie. Like, you had to know they were tight. You had to know that they were rough around the edges. They could take a punch. Evidently, there was nothing there can be cut. But I don't know. While I was watching this movie, I was kind of doing a couple other things, and I just kept like paying attention to it. And I was like, "Dang,
Why can these two not sit down and watch a movie?
I normally do." And this one was a little bit different. I was doing laundry.
ADHD, man.
Yeah.
There's something clicking over.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
But-
I have to be doing something when I'm watching a movie. I can't.
normally I
just
can sit still. This one I was like I had to do some stuff. But
Y'all are crazy.
I don't know. I liked all of the intertwining webs, but I definitely did feel the hour 48 minutes aspect.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad length of a
No,
movie.
it's not a terrible time, all things
I
considered.
spent more time watching, hour 45 to 2 hour movies than probably any other ones. So.
Check out our 3-star review for that commentary of that movie. We swear is 3 hours long.
Yeah, it sure doesn't.
Hour and a
It
half.
doesn't actually take that much.
Somebody
time,
give me a
but it feels
synopsis.
You can check out our video at Effin' Movie
Yeah, I
don't know
Podcast.
what a
Without a
synopsis.
paddle,
Yes.
about a third of that movie, like quality wise. Take out all the comedy.
What?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's all we got.
that's the
Anyway.
shortest.
I mean, Mason was dead on with calling it without a paddle.
Yeah.
Like it's weirdly so similar
And
to Without a
Annabeth picked
Paddle.
it.
Yeah.
If
Did you all tear her apart, or did you all just like?
I did my best. I did my best.
Glad you carried on.
we
my
were
tradition.
very forthcoming on our feelings on it in the
Yeah,
review.
we didn't sugarcoat it. I don't think.
No, yeah, I didn't hold any punches. I mean, there were parts I liked, but anyway, you can check out that review.
Rice, thick,
on the
thin,
channel.
or right in the middle.
All right.
I thought it was fit, I guess. I liked it. I mean, I watched it. It had my full attention. I was on the plane back when I was watching. I downloaded on Netflix. Had my full attention. I didn't feel any part of the movie, like, lengthwise. I liked everything. I think everybody got an adequate amount of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did. I liked everything about the movie.
I will say this movie is very close to being fit, but it's just a touch chubby. I wouldn't go as far as say this is a fat film.
Bloated.
It's a little bloated,
A little
right?
bloated?
It just has
Just
it just
got
has
done
some
eating a full meal.
choded.
Just
or
went to a buffet.
It just got done eating Chewies. It's a little bloated. Just going ahead and skipping words and putting
Wrong
them
word
together.
there, huh?
You go there enough, I think you can coin that
Yeah,
phrase.
Chewy bloated.
Chewy
is
bloated is choded.
Choded.
Henceforth.
It's choded.
I promise you, there's very specific bloats to Chewies.
I know which
So-
one I'll pick between those two.
So anyway, thinking on, I can figure out where on like the rewatches on it. I do tend to tune out on some of the like Tyrone and Soul and that gang's
Really?
like parts.
I
Those
love them.
a lot
They're
of
like my favorite
no,
part.
listen, they have some great parts, but there are a couple parts where they're back at the pawn shop and they're sitting with the dog for too long. Like when they're in the car, all those
The
moments
dog's
are great.
The
hilarious.
dog
Back
might be
at
the
the-
best character.
Back at the pawn shop, a couple of those scenes drag. Like
Yeah.
I mean, sure, they're necessary, but a couple of them just, you can tell that they just didn't balance the humor and like those are, if I had to pick, and they're not boring parts by any means, but by the rest of the movie standard. Those are the parts where I'm like my attention kind of drifts,
Yeah.
and then kind of gets back up. And it's not for long enough, which is why I'm saying it's just a touch chubby. I would tweak those or maybe give it a little bit more better dialogue if I was editing it or something in that nature. But otherwise, this movie's great. Like, at most, I maybe cut 5 minutes out of this movie.
Don't nod your head in agreement. You don't agree with this idiot.
I'm just nodding my head. I don't agree with him.
Then don't nod.
Bring it on in, Nathan.
I thought this movie was fantastic. I watched it a week and a half ago, and paid attention to it pretty well then. And then watching it again today, I was like, I was fully in. And I enjoyed every minute of it. I thought it was a great movie.
Nathan wasn't playing chess with 3 other people on this time.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah, weirdly, I was only like occasionally, doing some work and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that they had so many different versions of Jason Statham throughout the film, though. Right?
Yeah, why did they do
which one it was?
I don't know why they recast him as a.
and stuff.
Why he was a black man for a moment?
He was bald the whole time, so
Right.
at least that part was consistent.
All right, we're all pretty good. So, all to say, I think we landed that this movie is pretty well put together. It definitely, it's not overstaying its welcome if nothing else. Even if me and Mason say it's a touch, a little bit more on the bloat side, it definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. This isn't a movie that's like an hour 48. That's like this should have been an hour and a half. It's fine at an hour 48 still for sure.
Dylan has spoken.
I sure have. That's our show. Price has a mood today.
Sassy.
I put on my sassy britches.
We about ready to kind of give our scores
Let's
on this
do
thing.
this.
I think we are. Nathan, lead the way, buddy.
I would give this like a 8.5.
Funny.
The more I was thinking about it and having watched it the second time and still thoroughly enjoyed it, yeah, it's absolutely an 8.5. It's a really good movie, well put together. Brad Pitt's accent, I was kind of not as excited about, but on the second watch, where I was paying closer attention to just try and understand what in the world he was saying, it was okay. It was fine.
Did everyone have subtitles on?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll let it run the entire
Helped me
time.
a lot.
No, I don't mind it so much for Brad Pitt because I think his character, and I'm sure that they
intention.
gave him the free range of just jabbering.
Well, so apparently he deliberately was trying to talk in a way that even the other cast members couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
I could pick up on that. I don't think the subtitles would have really helped that situation because you are just supposed to pick up the third word.
Right.
Yeah, like the idea was like you were supposed to be like, yes?
Yeah.
No acting for any of the cast listening to the lines from the Pikeys at any point.
Yeah.
All right, 8.5. Mason, I'm bringing it right over to you so I can go last and come back around.
Why do you get to go
That's
last?
my movie pick.
So I'm kind of glad that I've heard some of this feedback because I was coming into this like a little bit like on the, I don't know, broadly. But after hearing all of this, you guys have convinced me it's a 7.5. I had it more like a 7, maybe a 6.5 because I enjoyed it. But I'm kind of like you. Maybe I need to watch it again. Hopefully I can in the next, maybe year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll land at a 7.5. I think the one-offs, the quips, just like you said earlier, the dialogue, the jokes, that they all landed for me from what I did hear and what I could understand. So I give it a 7.5.
Well, I almost never. Back to that whole point. I almost never think a movie is better on the second watch
Normally,
through, or even warrants a second watch through.
Yeah.
This one, I think I enjoyed it better because I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And that made it just funnier what was happening at the time.
I gotcha. Huh? Price?
It's my turn.
Price?
Funnily enough, I was going to do an 8.5 as well. That's exactly where I landed. I was trying to think of a reason to put it up to 9, and I mean, I don't have too many qualms with the movie, but I just couldn't find a reason to put it up that extra little notch. I don't know why, because again, I really like the movie, but I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, the scene that reminded me of the taquito dying and Tim and Eric was
was the icing on the
that
cake.
was very much hit for me. And I mean, the dog with the squeaky toy in him, and then he like eats the diamond and jumps out the window and
just shoot at the dog with a...
and he shoots out the window like in a crowded street.
Right.
Well, and he also kills.
he kills Brick
Yeah, he
or
kills,
the
the
Tuck
Terminator.
Tooth. Yeah.
Yeah, he kills him just in the process of doing that, and then immediately goes back to America.
Right.
and
Yeah,
does
he's
that
like,
little-
all right, I'm out of here.
Montage.
Like, how was your trip? Or what would you say about your trip? What did he say?
It's like I won't go. I want to go back,
Yeah,
or something
something
like that. And then he
yeah.
does go back whenever they get the diamond. And
Right.
stuff.
Wraps at the end.
I liked it. It initially put me off because again the editing, and it felt like a heist movie, and I do not like heist movies.
I
at
love
all.
heist movies.
I really enjoy heist
But thankfully, this was only a heist movie in its structure, not like
Yeah.
plot wise or anything like that. And I was very much okay with, because I was enjoying every plot thread that was going through. I enjoyed every character, honestly, every character that was in the movie.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Jason Statham was probably my least favorite of all of them, and I didn't like him very much at all. But everybody else I
Yeah.
very much enjoyed.
That's a little disclaimer for my score as well, in case I need some like backup. I thought it was a heist movie, so I was comparing it to Takers and like Ocean's 11 and God forbid Ocean's 12 as well.
Yeah.
And they weren't that. Not that it's a bad thing, but at the end of the day, again, it's a comedy.
Right.
and
At
that's
least
what
you
I need
didn't
to-
go into third star expecting it was a space movie.
Yeah.
And then over halfway through,
That's
you're finally like,
record-breaking.
okay,
Yeah.
I guess this isn't going to be a space movie.
2/3 of part of the film, Nathan knew this was not indeed a space movie.
Yeah.
The
I'm sure
disappointment
wondering
of-
how I got here.
Right.
Yeah.
Record screeches and everything.
All right, movie picker, what you got?
Boy, I think this is a very definition of an 8 for me.
Okay.
Like, this is a good movie throughout. Something about it just doesn't bring it to an 8.5 for me. Kind of where you guys find with like the 8.5, it's not trying to make it to a 9. It doesn't hit, I guess, the criteria for me to just sit there and put it up to that 8.5 category for me. I really enjoy this film. The comedy is all spot on. Rewatching it, like, there's just the small little moments that will always get me, and that's something I really value out of a comedy on rewatches. That it's like you find something new or some lines just land a little bit differently, and it's like, oh, okay, this is all good. I don't think any of this movie has been aging poorly at all either, which is another great point. Again,
They all look just like they do now.
yeah, they really
They
do.
all act about, I guess, sort of kind of like they do now.
Yeah, Brad Pitt. You get Fight Club Brad Pitt in it, while him being just an eccentric.
A year after Fight Club.
Yeah.
Maybe another reason.
Is it a year after Fight Club?
It's 2 years after Fight Club.
That's fair. Makes sense. He's still in Fight Club shape for the most. It's a little bit like less ripped, but he's still pretty ripped.
Yeah.
He's Pike ripped.
Yeah, he's pikey ripped at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very staple 8. It's super solid. I really enjoy it. I have a good time rewatching it. This is one I rewatch, and I have no problems rewatching. There are a couple lulls in it, and I think that's probably what stops it from just going all the way to an 8.5. I don't think it's perfect because it doesn't do anything grand or spectacular or anything like that. It's just a great comedy that has a lot of funny action with it, and I really enjoy the banter. The dialogue's just great in this. Shooting somebody several times over just makes me giggle every time. I don't know what it is.
My neighbors call me.
Caesar's out again.
Wow, just left right on the show, right in the middle of a live recording. That is Price's neighbor. So, I guess there's nothing else left to do but transition into what is our movie for next week. Thankfully, it's not Price's pick because he is gone. So,
And good thing we don't care what Price says, so I'm
Sure
going to
does.
say it anyway.
what is it, Mason?
The movie is called Captain Fantastic. Came out a few years ago. When I think of this movie, not to give anything away, it is an indie movie at its core.
Oh.
You guys think what you want about it. Go into it hopefully open-minded, and I guess we'll see you again next week.
Andy Darling next week coming with us with Captain Fantastic. Nathan, Mason, where can they catch you at?
Around.
Yeah, around.
Probably.
On our YouTube channel.
Hey,
Don't forget to hit that bell.
hit that bell, get those notifications every time we upload a video. We don't even know when we upload these videos. Only this man does.
I think if you like us well enough, you'll try to find us.
Yeah, you'll stick around.
Twitter, Facebook, whatever.
Right.
Instagram, maybe.
You can find us. You can find me.
Yeah, you can piece together T-shirts and things like that.
Exactly.
Geographical
Where-
locations.
Where
Oh,
we might live.
Jesus.
Yeah. Thankfully, we're at Price's house, so if you do find us, it's just
Come
his
here.
house.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah,
on
to
over.
this place.
There's a bunch of junk in the yard right now. It's
Probably
hard.
not on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effing movie broadcast. Do not come over on Fridays. I, of course, can be caught at Twitter at CAMACH Octopus. Don't say that word aloud. You will summon Beetlejuice or some sort of other earthly demon.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our show. You can catch Price coming back into the podcast in 3, 2, 1, and he's back just as we're leaving. Signing out for next week. We'll see you guys
Did he
there.
make-
Yep. Bye.